15 years ago today, on the 7th of June 2009, the 5th episode of South Pacific Strange Islands released. Today, I will be reviewing that. This episode is quite similar to the second episode, but follows a much looser theme, just talking about the strange animals across the Pacific rather than following their progression eastwards. In previous watches this has been my favourite episode, so we'll see if it still holds up. The episode begins in New Guinea again, with the dingiso, Dendrolagus mbeso, a type of giant tree kangaroo. It is around the size of a large dog and feeds on New Guinea's many tropical trees. We are also introduced to the theme of creatures arriving on islands and filling the empty niches, becoming the eponymous Strange Islanders. We travel east to New Caledonia, where we see a rather strange bird, the flightless kagu, Rhynchochetos jubatus. If you want to learn more about the kagu, you can watch my friend and fellow podcast co-host Stu Bonk's video on it. Kagus are monogamous, and in the winter, June to August, the male performs a mating display for his wife, running around and showing off his crest. The adults have no natural predators, but the chicks are prey to the New Caledonian crow, Corvus monoduloides, and other predators, which is why they camouflage them in the leaf litter. We then return to the Solomon Islands, where we specifically see the monkey-tailed skink, Corucia zebrata, the world's largest skink, which unlike its relatives, is herbivorous, arboreal, and has a prehensile tail. It is, like dingiso, filling the niche usually filled by monkeys which did not reach the Pacific. We then see that the men of Tobi Island in nearby Palau use kites with spiders suspended on webs below them to lure in and catch needlefish. Next we go to Hawaii again. That's right, we've been there every episode so far, and it isn't even in the South Pacific. In Hawaii, we see an iiwi, Drepanus coccinea, a long-billed honey creeper, and we hear once again about how the honey creepers are all descended from one or two species of finch. Then we see a honey creeper with very ancestral traits, the Palila loxoides bailio, the Maui parrotbill, or Kiwikiu, Pseudonesta xanthophrys, which has a massive parrot-like beak, and this strange Acaipolau Hemignathus heterorhynchus wilsoni, whose bottom jaw is chisel-like while the top is probing. It uses these strange mandibles to dig for and extract insect larvae. The next segment takes us back to my favourite Pacific Islands, Aotearoa, where we see the flightless alpine parrot, the kea, Nestor notabilis, famed for their playfulness. Down in the forest below we see penguins, specifically Fiordland crested penguins, or Pocotifa Eudyptes pachyrhynchus. Pocotifa is also a swear word in Te Reo Maori. These penguins nest in the forest, will march or ride the rivers down to the ocean to hunt and back in order to catch fish to feed their chicks. The only terrestrial mammals to reach Aotearoa were bats, specifically short-tailed bats, Mysticina tuberculata, which have very strangely evolved to hunt giant weta, Dinacrida species, which are giant flightless crickets, on the ground. These bats crawl about on the ground, hunting their flightless prey. The next segment focuses on the kea's larger relative, the flightless kakapo, Strigops habroptilus, a massive nocturnal arboreal parrot. They were once ridiculously common, but introduced species have decimated their numbers, which could not recover due to their strange breeding cycle. They reproduce only when the rimu tree, Dacrydium cupressinum, is producing fruit in abundance, approximately every 4 years. Next, we see one of these invasive species, the Australian or brush-tail possum, Trichoceros vulpecula, overrunning the forest in Aotearoa. These and other invasive species have invaded the mainland of Aotearoa, meaning that many animals like the tuatara, Sphenodon punctatus, the lizard-like last survivor of the order Rhynchocephalia, are now restricted to surrounding islands, such as Stevens Island, Takapaurewa. The tuatara itself is a very slow-moving animal. In their adulthood, they often only move to catch passing invertebrates, such as the tree weta, Hemidyna species. Takapaurewa had been completely uninhabited until, in 1894, a lighthouse was built and a small town grew around it. The lighthouse keeper, David Lyle, discovered a new species of flightless wren, the Stevens Island wren, Traversia lyalli. Unfortunately, these wrens were quickly wiped out by Lyle's cat, Tibbles. Back on the main islands, we hear recordings and recreations of the calls of extinct birds, including, but certainly not limited to, the moa, Dinornis, and many others. In one of the remaining kauri, Agathis australis, forests on the North Island, Te Ika a Maui. We then see Tane Mahuta, the largest kauri tree on the islands, and find out about animals that previously only survived on the islands, such as Takapaurewa and Tiritirimatangi, being reintroduced to the mainland. The next segment returns to Hawaii, again, and where we see there are forests made up of entirely introduced flora and fauna, such as Jackson's chameleons, Trioceros jacksonii, white rapid-shamas, Cocycus malabaricus, northern cardinals, Cardinalis cardinalis, red-bellied Leothryxes, Leothryx lutea, Japanese white-eyes, Zostrops japonicus, rats, Rattus excellens, Indian mongoose, Urva auropunctata, and many others. On Tanau Island in Vanuatu, we see the local people holding the Toka Festival to celebrate the end of the war, in which they celebrate and often publicly kill pigs, Sus domesticus. Next we return to Rapa Nui, where we hear basically the same story as we did in episode 1, but with more mention of the native bird life, almost all of which were unique and practically all unknown to science. The story we hear is almost the same, but instead of entirely blaming the humans, a more recent theory that the rats they brought with them eating the palm seeds bird eggs is discussed. After the decimation of this land life, the humans are believed to have retreated to primitive bunkers and committed cannibalism. The Rapa Nui people still survive on their native island, and the extinct palms and birds have been mostly replaced by related analogues. This episode's diary segment, Search for the Dingiso, details the crew's quest to film the Dingiso for the first time ever. The Dingiso is also worshipped by the local Moni people. They enter the sacred lake area where they have to use the sacred name for the Dingiso and set up base camp, from which the Moni that they are brought search for it. One night, some of the Moni members arrive with a captured Dingiso, misinterpreting the request to film one. They release the Dingiso in its natural habitat, and it calmly returns to Troy, where they are able to film it. After rewatching it, I still think this is my favourite episode, partly because of its featuring two of my favourite Pacific islands, Rapa Nui and Aotearoa, but also its featuring of many different creatures and cultures and locations across the Pacific. The one bad thing is the featuring of Hawaii, once again, and not only featuring it once, but twice. But other than that, I think this is the best episode so far, and potentially overall. Where we see the flightless Alpine Carrot